In its 39th anniversary, the General People Conference remembered its iconic leader Ali Abdullah Saleh. United Nations Security Council accuses Houthi rebels again of blocking peace in Yemen. Iran-backed militia poison education of a generation of Yemeni youth. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaza Abdelbey. The General People's Congress, the symbol of political moderation, is commemorating its 39th anniversary, since it was found back in 24 August 1982 by its iconic leader, President Ali Abdullah Saleh, had established stability and prosperity in a country which has been always a subject of political instability. The following report looks at the most important stages in this great party.
3 months only passed since the young leader, Ali Abdullah Saleh, held the president office. Since day one, he was confronted with all military upheavals that would have shaken the roots of Yemen. There was a military coup and a state of division inside the military institution. Yemen, at that time, was going to a new way of bloodshed and loss of democracy that swept over 4 previous presidents. The young leader faced all these difficulties with a strong heart. Not only a brave heart, but also a decisiveness to build a stable regime based on the national unity and on ending the internal conflicts that load the new democracy. Passing through the coup, Yemen in the time of Ali Abdullah Saleh faced another hardship, the civil war between the North and the South in 1979. This hardship, coupled with a state of weakness in the army that was used by the southern part of the country, which had a leg over through Soviet arms and through ideology. Kuwait mediated for unity. It succeeded in holding a constituent congress to unite all Yemenis, and all relations between the two parts were normalized. The army was then his point of consideration. The leader, Ali Abdullah Saleh, started to make reforms inside the military institution according to a national doctrine that will serve the national interests of Yemen. As to the political side, the late leader began a project that aimed at formulating a national covenant. This national covenant would have resulted in an authentic integrated national way of thought that would have sided out all foreign interference and would have coped with modernity. The covenant, in addition, would have cherished national unity of thought to build a country for democracy, justice and equality. Unity in Yemen was indeed achieved, and a unified national front was formed to represent all priorities and principles. This national front was named the General Public Conference, which preserved the statehood and provided stability in Yemen. This pioneer experience is the base over which all Yemenis were grouped together, in which, regretfully, was smashed out and obliterated by Houthi rebels' practices that overshadowed the glorious past of Yemen.
The UN Security Council on its session on Yemen today accused Houthi rebels for blocking peace and that they are responsible for the failure to implement the 4-point plan presented to the Yemeni parties. This 4-point plan includes immediate ceasefire, reopening of Sana'a airport, easing restrictions on Hodeidah port, and starting direct political negotiations. The Council pointed out also the hard economic situation in Yemen with the devaluation of local currency. The UN accused the Houthi rebels of blocking the flow of fuel supplies through Al-Hodeidah port in order to raise their prices in the black markets, which is run by them. On a different note, sources in Hodeidah said that the Houthi militia shelled people's houses east of Tuhaita with heavy mortar. The sources added that the militia opened their machine guns towards the city, causing panic and fear among people. The engineering units of the joint forces cleared about 60 explosive devices in different areas east of Hodeidah. A military source said that some of the explosive devices reach around 50 kilograms. It is a fact that the joint forces are making great efforts to protect people's lives who are subject of Houthi deadly mines. The government forces backed by the coalition air raids caused Houthi militia losses in lives and equipment west of Ma'rib. 7 Houthi militants were reported to be killed while trying to penetrate a military position in Al-Mashqa. The source said that the coalition raid targeted a number of Houthi rebels and destroyed one of their vehicles. In the same context, the coalition forces reported that the air defense obstructed and destroyed a Houthi drone. According to the spokesman of the coalition, the explosive loaded drone was intended to target Khamis Mashhad to the south of Saudi Arabia, when it was stopped, adding that the Houthi militia still targets civilians and their properties. The United States announced reward for whoever gives information about a Lebanese man related to Hezbollah. The American Foreign Ministry offered $5 million for any information about the Lebanese man who is accused of transferring money to Houthi militia. According to intelligence reports, the man is called Khalil Yusuf. He is a prominent leader in the Lebanese Hezbollah and has a major role in facilitating the group's links with other terrorist organizations. In continuation for their policy to Houthinize education and children mentalities, sources in the capital Sana'a said that the Houthi militia endorsed a decree to sack 8,000 teachers. The sources said that the Houthi decision will target those teachers who are not aligned to them. According to some sources, the rebel militia are sacking 5,000 teachers in Sana'a and 3,000 other in neighboring areas. Houthi rebels fired thousands of public servants under the pretext of repeated absence from work. In Sana'a, the school book press institutions received new versions of textbooks completely deformed by Houthi militia. Teachers in the areas under the control of Iranian-backed Houthi militia warned families that these books are stuffed with Houthi mindset curricula, which is full of racist ideas. The following report has more details on this story.
The school book presses in Sana'a received new copies of textbooks that differ from the previous curricula after the Houthi militia added some modifications and poisoned them with racist ideas to be printed instead of the basic educational curricula. Teachers in the area controlled by the Iran-backed militia have warned the students' families of these poisonous curricula that are waiting for their children in schools with the beginning of the new school year. Educational sources confirmed that the Houthi militia stopped the curricula of the basic educational stage with ideas and beliefs imported from Tehran, which threaten to blow the minds of young students. Yemeni law rejected these abuses and imposes punishment for exploiting or violating a public function, but the Houthi militia has become the one who allows for these abuses to blow the minds of Yemeni students. The Houthi militia had made disastrous alterations to the school curricula, especially for primary school students, in an effort to form an extremist generation that owes absolute loyalty to them. On the 19th of August, the UNICEF Children Organization warned the Houthi militia against subjecting education to political or sectarian use and assured that they will not have any connection with the printing of the new sectarian curriculum.
Houthi campaign to poison education did not stop with school textbooks, but went further to target higher education institutions. This report sheds light on attempts of the rebels to impose their poisonous ideology on university students.
In the middle of a devastating war and a great Yemeni division, the Houthis continue to rush towards Houthanizing university curriculum and poisoning them with mistaken thoughts that were imposed on the faculties of Sana'a University and even the Faculty of Medicine. During the current university exams, activists circulated pictures of 2 subjects imposed by the militia on students that seem like university lessons than university curricula. They were tested by first-year medical students and printed at their expenses. Cultural courses were transferred to the university campus and installed as an academic course. Reading the content of a course on national culture will tell you that it has turned into a sectarian education that overflows with racism about the role of Yemenis in supporting the family of Houthis, and about imams and symbols of the ancient dynasty who committed slaughters to the rule of Yemenis for centuries, such as Al-Hadi, Al-Mutahhar, Al-Qasim, and others, without a word about the civilization identity of Yemen or the moderate Islamic identity of the Yemenis. The Houthi war on Yemenis were included within the academic and university curricula and glorified its fighters, eliminating Yemeni glories completely from existence, and without any mention of the September Revolution, the Republic, or the Yemeni unity. This comes in a flagrant attempt to reformulate Yemeni history with a vision that is completely different from the collective awareness and unity of the Yemenis. It's only consistent with the arrogant Imam regime against the Yemenis revolution 60 years ago, so that the Iran-backed militia revealed its true face that burned all of Yemen in revenge against the Republic and the goals of the eternal September and October revolutions.
Coming next. Millions of displaced people have been affected throughout the country because of floods and heavy rains.
ثالثتي على منطقة الروضة استهدف الأطفال الأبرياء اللي يلعبوا في الشارع. يدعي للسلام يقول له للسلام يقتل أطفالنا يقتل أطفالنا الأبرياء.
أنا قلت افتجعت ولا قلنا يقع واحد صاروخ ثاني طلعت البيت حقنا عشان ألعب أنا وأصحابي والصاروخ الطرح.
Welcome back. Dozens of employees of the General Electricity Corporation in Taz protested in front of Al-Daba electricity branch to demand their salaries, which have been suspended for 3 months. The rally for the employees working in the electricity is not only one. Similar rallies have been conducted by employees in the water establishment and other public service sectors. Protesters called upon the local authority and the government to quickly respond to their demands, pay their salaries, and restart the power station in Asfara. To Aden, where the power supply company announced that some of the units in the city went out of service, the company officials said that this was due to the lack of fuel supply for the 3rd day in a row. Oil companies did not receive orders from the concerned bodies to supply trucks with the fuel that is needed to operate the power stations in Aden. The power supply company called upon officials to provide fuel, warning at the same time that if the remaining power stations could go out of service, this will aggravate the suffering of people. Fish prices in the temporary capital Aden rose to record levels that most citizens were unable to cope with. This could cause a new setback in the light of the rise in meat prices. Workers in the fisheries sector attribute the high price of fish to the windy season these days and will continue until next September. Collapse of the local currency exchange rate also added to the complexity of the situation. A wave of bad weather has hit the country recently, in which thousands of houses were swept away, let alone the camps of the displaced people. The following report has more details.
In light with the UN warnings of the global climate crisis, authorities in Ma'rib announced that about 8,000 homes for the displaced people in the governorate have been damaged, and hundreds of families are in dire need of shelter and urgent food aid. 73 settlements out of 148 do not fit with the nature of the desert area and does not tolerate rain and monsoons. The executive director of the IDP's camp administration in Ma'rib stated that great damage was caused to the camps due to rains and winds, as 7,853 houses were damaged, of which 210 houses were completely damaged and 7,643 were partially damaged, where more than 200 families became homeless along with the other needs of the rest of the affected. The executive directory had warned that 73 out of 148 sites and gathering places for displaced people, made of worn-out nests and tents, were not suitable for the terrain of deserts, heavy rains, and winds. In turn, the United Nations stated that the exposure to natural hazards and floods in Yemen has led to the destruction of housing and infrastructure, restriction of access to markets and basic services, destruction of livelihoods, facilitating the spread of deadly diseases and high mortality, as well as contributing to the displacement of the population, in which is already considered the fourth largest internal displacement crisis in the world, with the presence of more than 4 million of people are internally displaced. The annual rainy season brings torrential rains and high winds, especially in coastal areas. As last year, 13 governorates were affecting more than 62,500 families, while thousands of other families were already affected in 2021. Due to road closures, floods that continue to hamper the ability of humanitarian partners deliver life-saving assistance to populations in need.
The National Committee Against Coronavirus announced the registration of 30 new cases of the epidemic in 4 governorates. The committee said that 16 cases were recorded in Hadramaut, 2 in Ma'rib, and 6 in Aden. Also, 2 deaths were registered in Hadramaut and Ma'rib. With the current updates, the total confirmed cases are 7,539, including 1,420 deaths. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. In its 39th anniversary, the General People Conference remembered its iconic leader Ali Abdullah Saleh. United Nations Security Council accuses Houthi rebels again of blocking peace in Yemen. Iran-backed militia poison education of a generation of Yemeni youth. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.